3 months after their return, Oma's uncle, Chief Okonkwo, lost his wife Adamma, and Oma traveled to the village for 1 week with her husband and son for the burial rites. They arrived in Umoma by dusk. The compound bustled with mourners, relatives and neighbors coming to pay respects. But even before the burial rites began, Oma felt the old pull in her chest. That evening, while others settled in, she slipped out quietly and walked the familiar path to the stream where she used to pour her guilt. When she got there, she knelt by the edge and wept silently, her tears rippling into the water. She was still crying when she saw a young girl, graceful and posed, stepping into the stream, her calabash steady in her arms. Around her neck was a coral bead, the same coral bead Oma had worn her baby years back at the river where she abandoned her. Oma was shocked to her bone. Her lips parted. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The girl glanced at her briefly and smiled politely, then turned back to her task. Oma's hands began to tremble. She turned and ran back to her uncle's house, barely feeling her steps, barely breathing. When Oma returned to her uncle's compound, she described the girl she had seen at the stream and asked who she was. She got to know that her name was Ifunanya, whom Ujunwa returned with from the evil forest. She says she is her daughter. The woman replied, but you know Ujunwa never had a child before her banishment. Some say the gods gave her that child in the forest. Oma's heart twisted with every word. She knew the truth. That was her daughter Chinwendu, the girl she had abandoned by the riverbank in the forest. She lost her peace immediately, but still didn't say a word about it to her husband. By the 5th day in Omoma, Oma could no longer contain the storm beside her. Her nights were sleepless, and during the day she drifted like a shadow around the compound, her eyes searching, her heart trembling. That evening, after dinner, she asked to speak with her uncle and her husband. Standing before the two most important men in her life, Oma confessed everything she had been hiding for years about the riverbank, about the guilt, about the coral beads, and the girl she had seen at the stream. Michael's eyes widened in shock, and Okonkwo covered his mouth, shaking his head slowly. You mean that girl is? Okonkwo couldn't finish the sentence. I am sure, Oma whispered. I tied that beads on her myself. Michael was dumbfounded. He took a step back, his face darkening. You? You mean that child was mine? That you gave birth to my daughter and you left her in the forest? And you never thought for once that I deserved to know? Oma's voice cracked. Michael, I was young. I was scared. I had no home, no support. I didn't think I could raise her alone. You didn't even tell me when I returned to marry you. How could you, Oma? He snapped, pen thick in his voice. My daughter grew up in the forest, Oma. She didn't deserve that. None of this should have happened. Okonkwo spoke up, his voice strained with emotion. It is my fault, too. I threw you out when you needed me most. I failed you as your uncle. I thought I was preserving the family's name. I didn't know. The three of them stuck in thick, suffocating silence, grief and guilt clinking to the air around them. Michael finally spoke, voice low. We need to see Ujunwa. We need to hear her side and see our daughter properly. Oma nodded slowly. Yes, it's time. And so they prepared to visit the woman who had become a mother in Oma's place. Very early the next day, the three of them made their way to Ujunwa's hut. Ujunwa looked up as they approached, her expression calm but guided. She stood from where she has been guiding herbs. They exchanged pleasantries and Ujunwa offered them wooden stool to sit on. Okonkwo broke the silence after they all sat down. He narrated everything Oma had told them, laying emphasis on the beads round Ifunaya's neck. Ujunwa listened quietly. When Okonkwo was done talking, she spoke with a calm voice. You are right. I found her by the riverbank. I didn't know who she belongs to. All I knew was that the ghost led me to her. She was crying, helpless. I took her, raised her, loved her. Till this day, she doesn't know the story. I deliberately left the bead on her neck because I knew a day like this would come. Okonkwo nodded slowly. You saved her. You gave her life. And we owe you more than we can ever say. A tear escaped Oma's eyes. Can we see her, please? Ujunwa stood and nodded. She's fetching water at the stream. She will return soon. They waited in silence. About 15 minutes later, Ifunanya returned. She paused at the sight of the visitors. She dropped her water pot, greeted them respectfully, and turned towards Uju. Mama, who are they? She asked gently. Ujunwa stepped forward slowly and held her daughter's hand. My child, these people, they are your biological parents. Ifunanya forehead squeezed. Biological? The woman who gave birth to you. The man who gave you life. They are the ones who brought you into this world. Ujunwa responded, trying to choose her words carefully. Ifunanya stared blankly. But you told me I was your daughter. You are, Ujunwa said, her voice breaking. In every way that matters. But I did not carry you in my womb. I found you 8 years ago by the river, wrapped in clothes, crying, alone. I was banished from this village. I lived in the forest. That morning, I heard your cry. The gods led me there. I picked you up. Oma crawled closely on her knees. Forgive me, Chiwendo. That was the name I gave you. She pleaded. I was so scared. I was thrown out. I had no food, no shelter. I thought someone else could give you what I couldn't. But I never stopped loving you. God knows I had not known peace since that day, not for a single day. Ifunanya turns to her, pain flashing across her young face. If you loved me, why then did you leave me alone in the forest? Oma clenched her chest, sobbing, because I was broken. I was a teenager. I had nowhere to go. I thought leaving you where someone might find you was better than watching you die slowly with me. Michael stepped forward, his voice hoarse. And I didn't know you existed. Your mother never told me she was pregnant. If I had known, I would have searched. I would have fought for you. Ifunanya cried now, slow tears slipping down her cheeks, her small body shaking. All these years, I thought I knew who I was, and now I don't know anymore. Okonkwo also apologized, taking all the blames for sending Oma away. Ifunanya nodded slowly. Then, turning to Oma and Michael, you said, through sobs, I forgive you. But I won't leave my mama here. She's my mother. She's the only one I know. Oma wept openly. Michael looked away, wiping his tears. Okonkwo placed a hand on Oma's shoulder. Ifunanya, Michael said quietly, can we still see you? Be part of your life? She hesitated, then whispered, I don't know. Maybe, but not now. They all left Ujunwa's hut, broken. The next day, Oma and her family returned to Lagos. When they arrived home, Michael dropped the car key on the table and walked straight into the bedroom, closing the door behind him. He did not call out to Oma. He did not speak to her for the rest of the night. They began to live like strangers from that day. Oma sat on the living room floor, her back against the couch, holding Chibike to her chest. Her eyes stared at nothing, her thoughts scattered across time. She had fought her daughter, but lost her all over again. The days that followed were a blue, Michael left early and returned late. He no longer stayed in the kitchen or teased her while she cooked. He no longer asked if she had eaten or if she was tired. The man who once laughed freely beside her now walked past her like a stranger. Omar tried to speak or start conversation, but his replied were cold and short. I'm fine. I'm busy. Good night. The silence between them grew louder with every passing day. One night, Omar walked into the bedroom and found him standing by the window, staring into the dark. Michael, she whispered, please talk to me. He turned slowly, his eyes bloodshot. Talk to you? His voice was low but sharp. About what, Omar? About how you robbed me of my daughter's childhood. About how you left her in the forest like an abandoned pet. What kind of a mother abandons her own child for whatever reason? Worst of all, in a forest. What if she had died? Omar flinched. I have said I'm sorry. Sorry? He laughed bitterly. Do you think sorry will undo 8 years of absence? Do you know how it felt, standing there, seeing my own child flinched at the sound of my voice? A daughter who doesn't even know I exist? Omar broke down in tears. I was young, Michael. I had nothing. I thought she would die if I kept her. I thought I would die. I didn't know what else to do. Michael shook his head slowly. I didn't know you were pregnant. I would have returned immediately. But why didn't you mention it when I came back to marry you? Do you think I didn't deserve to know? You should have told me. You should have told someone. You didn't even give me a choice. He walked past her and left the room. That night, Oma sat by the window side, staring at the moon, with silent tears rolling down her cheeks. The guilt was heavier now than ever. She began to lose weight. Weeks passed. Oma stopped trying to speak. Michael stopped trying to listen. Their home had become a shell. She would sometimes sit with Chubike and whisper, you have a sister. Her name is Chiwendo, now known as Efunanya. I hope one day you will meet her again. One day, about 3 months after they returned from the village, Michael returned from work and quietly went straight into their room. He saw Oma sitting on the floor and crying. He felt sorry for her. He bent down, lifted her up and gave her a kiss. Then he burst into tears and both of them cried like babies. I forgive you, Oma, he blurted out. It wasn't entirely your fault. I just feel so bad that my baby, my flesh and blood, grew up in a forest and now lived in the village. Look at me. I am wealthy enough to give her a comfortable life. I am sorry, was all Oma said repeatedly. They both agreed to visit the village again. 1 month later, they traveled to the village. Chubike was almost 3 years. When they got to Umoma, they went straight to Okonkwo's compound and very early the next day, they visited Ujunwa's hut again. Ifunanya was outside, arranging herbs in baskets. When she looked up and saw them, she stood there for a moment, then smiled. Good afternoon, she greeted politely, walking towards them. Michael's eyes welled up with tears, and Oma's throat tightened, but they didn't rush her. They were offered seats, and Ujunwa allowed them to speak with Ifunanya alone. They spoke for a while. Ifunanya spoke kindly to them. Then Michael brought up the idea of her visiting Lagos to spend some time with them, but Ifunanya gently refused. I want to stay here, she said. This is my home. Mama Ujunwa raised me. She's my mother. Oma's eyes filled with tears. We understand. We really do. Michael nodded. But know that we are still your parents too. We will always love you, Ifunanya, and we will always support you. From that day forward, Oma and Michael began sending monthly support, enough to give Ujunwa and Ifunanya a life of comfort. They paid for her schooling, bought her books and clothes, and visited her often. Ifunanya grew into a graceful young woman, wise, grounded, and deeply loved by two families. She became known in the village for her intelligence, her herbal skills, and her quiet confidence. Whenever people asked her who her mother was, she would smile softly and say, I have two. One gave me life, the other gave me love. And that was the truth. In the end, the forest had taken nothing from her. It had only prepared her to be the bridge between sorrow and healing. The girl once abandoned at a river had become the daughter of two hearts, and that to Ifunanya was more than enough. When it was time to go to the university, she visited her parents in Lagos for the first time. The joy knew no bounds. Ifunanya continued to visit the village to be with Ujunwa during holiday, and that was enough for Ujunwa. She couldn't have asked for more. She was grateful to God for making her a mother, even though she didn't carry any child in her womb. Hi besties, don't forget, every action has consequences, even if done out of fear or desperation. Oma abandoned her child, thinking it was the best option, but it left deep emotional scars and consequences that resurfaced years later. Forgiveness is painful but powerful. Michael's ability to forgive Oma did not erase the past, but it allowed healing and restored their home and heart. Motherhood is not only about giving birth, but about love, sacrifice, and presence. Ujunwa, who didn't birth Ifunanya, became a true mother through her care, love, and guidance. Children strive when surrounded by love, no matter where it comes from. Ifunanya blossomed into a confident, kind woman because she was raised in love, even in humble circumstances. Healings begin when the truth is faced, not hidden. Oma's healing began only when she confronted her past and sought reconciliation, not just with her daughter, but with herself. Thank you so much for watching this emotional journey to the end. Your support means everything to me. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and drop your thoughts in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. Let's keep growing this beautiful community together. More powerful stories are on the way. Stay tuned and stay inspired. Much love. Bye for now.